Okay, welcome to Crotch Geek. So I'm trying to film with my camera this way, and normally when I edit videos, I could just chop off the beginning and the end. But since I'm filming this without any cuts, I had to like click it and run in front of it. So when I film this way, because of the cameras, it's better resolution on the TV, right? So instead of filming this way, I've been doing it this way. Now, you might have noticed that my fingernails are painted red and green. I'm going to a Christmas party today, and I just thought I'd do something different. I've never done that before, and I did an awful job. If there are any ladies out there watching, it's difficult to paint your nails and then not touch anything for about 15 minutes. You'd be so surprised how often your fingernails come in contact with surfaces when you're trying not to do that. But anyways, I've got everything ready. So the first thing I want to do is go. For me, I have the next 3 weeks off. Today, done with those kids for 3 weeks. It's gonna be like heaven. So, sorry for you out there if you have to keep working, but I'm off. I'm happy. Those kids have been so difficult the last week because the last week before vacation, they're like, nope, I'm not doing anything. It's like they check out a week before. So we have to put up with it though, because they still keep coming to school. They check out, but they still go. So now the first thing I want to do is I want to update you. It's horrible. I'm going to actually do this on a some kind of form, but I've reached 10 out of my 100. So I'm trying to do the 100 book challenge. I'm not, according to the 100 book challenge, I'm supposed to read 100 books before I actually buy more. I said forget that part. But I just wanted to chart my progress, and I'm already at 11, and I'm about to add one or two more because I'm almost through with two more. But one really dangerous thing is there was a bookstore that opened up in my neighborhood about 4 blocks from my home. So we went out to dinner the other night and we were walking, and I was like, oh my gosh, a new bookstore. My husband was like, yeah, it's been here a couple weeks. You never walk anywhere. But anyways, I had to support them. And new books are expensive, but if there's a new bookstore in my neighborhood, I'm gonna have to go in there every once in a while and support them. So I bought 2 books, and my husband bought 2 books. So I'm gonna show the 2 that I bought. I really like the New York Review of Books, and the blah blah blah. The writing is always interesting, and I haven't read a bad book put out by them. And so I got Machines in the Head, which is by Anna Kavan. Selected Stories. I got it for the cover. That's me, cover by. But this was in the horror section. It was short stories, so I'm very interested. And then I got this one called Telluria by Vladimir Sorokin. Now, this one just sounds so weird. It's like a dystopian future. Telluria set in the future. I just said that. When a devastating holy war between Europe and Islam has succeeded in returning the world to the torpor and disorganization of the Middle Ages. Then it goes on and on. But the really interesting thing is, like, every chapter is from a different person's point of view. And so you're going to get a wide variety of perspectives of what that world is like. So I was like, ooh, I want that one. That sounds really interesting to me. So here it is. It's called the North Figueroa Bookshop. There's an address if you want to visit it. What else? They also have this Rare Bird. So I guess they have their own printing. And I didn't actually buy any of the books that they have, but they have a whole section of them. And I am the next time. So yeah, they have their own books. So, hey, a bookshop in my neighborhood. How cool is that? I told them it would be so cool if they had a little coffee shop in there, but yeah, that was probably insulting to them. I shouldn't have said it. Okay, so what have we got on the list? So let's talk about the movies that I saw. So first of all, I want to talk about a show, because I watched a show and I forgot to mention it last week. And oh, and I also want to show this. When I was talking about Booth last week, I forgot to show this picture, and I really like this picture. It's just I don't know. I just like the patterns and the color. I mean, it's a gruesome, picture because we can see what happens, but I don't know, just all the pattern and the line work. I just really like that and the colors. So I wanted to show that. Remember, because that was the book I read, Booth. Okay, so I talked about that. All right, so here it is, the peripheral. The peripheral. So I was just flipping through and I decided, hey, you know what? I haven't watched a show in a while. I've been so busy. So I just put on something. And this looked really good. So it was on Prime Video. So I didn't know anything about it. I started watching it. And it was so captivating, so good. So if you like Westworld, then you know it's not going to be easy to understand. But even though, first of all, it plays a trick on you. And I won't say what that is, right? Because it's part of the show. And then when you keep going, it becomes really, really interesting, and it deals with the topic that I'm really into, and so that added to it as well. I think there are only 8 episodes, might be 6, but 6 or 8 episodes, and it stars Chloe Grace Moretz, right? And the cast is good, the acting really good, the situation, I just was into it. It wasn't dull at all. It does become confusing, so be aware of that. In the end, you're going to have to think it through to see if you really understood what happened, but I really, really hope that there's a second season of this. So you can even tell by, if you see the poster, some weird stuff going on here. But anyways, I'll tell you about that. So one movie that we watched, my husband wanted to watch the new Pinocchio, and I was like, ugh, okay, whatever. Because we had watched the other one with Tom Hanks, and it was okay, but it was a little bit of a letdown. So I'm like, okay, so we started watching it. So here it is. It's fabulous. That's my dog drinking water. So the puppet designs in this movie are so amazing to see. It's like going back in time and seeing Nightmare on Christmas. Wait, A Nightmare on Christmas. A Nightmare Before Christmas. Sorry. It's like seeing that design for the first time. So you're seeing it's just beautifully done. And there's a lot of really nice humor in it. I won't tell you what happens, but there's some really funny things in this movie. I recommend it. If you're interested, especially in design, it's the same old story, although they do change one part. There's one part missing where they go to Pinocchio goes to I think it's an island where all the boys start turning into donkeys. That's changed. There is something similar, but it's changed. So, but anyways, it's a very, very good movie. Okay, after Pinocchio, we watched Bullet Train. Now, my husband didn't want to watch this one, but I did. And of course, he fell asleep, but I absolutely loved it. So this is an ensemble cast, and I would guess you would call it just like comedy, violent comedy. I don't know, but it's funny. And it's really well done. And the thing about it is, the movie goes as fast as the train. Like, it's speeding through this movie, and it's broken up into chunks. And each chunk gives you more information about something else, and it goes through each character, and then it goes back. And it's really good. It's funny. So I really recommend Bullet Train. Now, I think it was last week or the week before, I had watched Nosotros los Pobres, and we started watching Ustedes los Ricos, which is part 2 of that, but we didn't finish that, so I'm not going to review it. And we also started watching the show called 1899, and I'm going to review that probably next week. That is a weird show, but it's very compelling. It's like watching Lost on steroids. it's so weird and it's so mysterious. But once I started watching it, I'm like, no, I need to know what's going on. But it's just so strange. If any of you have seen it, don't give it away. But tell me what you think of 1899. But I will review it in my next video, hopefully, if I finish it. I should. I have 3 weeks off. All right. So I read, I finished Flowers for Algernon. So I'm going to tell a little bit of a story about this. I really like this. This is the first edition cover, and it deals with the subject of the novel really, really well. And so I really like this more than the one with the mouse and the brain. But if you don't know, so Flowers for Algernon is a science fiction book that deals with a mentally retarded person getting an operation and becoming smart. Now, some people don't like the term mentally retarded, so I am not using that in any kind of negative way. I just grew up with that term, and I think it's more PC to say the mentally challenged. But for me, that's what I grew up with, and I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. That's just the way I say it. So so he's a mentally I almost said mentally challenged, mentally retarded man who goes through an operation. Now, I first came in contact with this, I think, years and years ago. I think I saw the movie when I was young. But then, as a teacher, I started teaching the short story to my 8th graders, and it was in our textbook for the longest time. Now, that short story actually won the Hugo Award in 1960. And then, 6 years later, the author, Daniel Keyes, made it into a novel. And that was in 1966, and it was the joint winner of the Nebula, along with Babel 17. And it was also nominated for the Hugo that year, but it lost out to Robert Heinlein's The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. But it didn't stop there. It was a radio and a television. It went through all kinds of incarnations, and then it was made into a movie called Charlie, and it won a few Academy Awards. And I know the actor, I believe he won the Academy Award for that. I forget his name off the top of my head, but anyways, I believe he won the Academy Award. So, excuse me. Recently, a friend and I think maybe a year ago actually, we both read The Overstory by Richard Powers, and I really, really liked it, and she didn't. And this year, Richard Powers had another book out called, I didn't write down the name, but I took a picture of it, so sorry, please bear with me. But it was much, much shorter. There it is, Bewilderment. And it was, I believe, nominated for a Booker, I think. So I was like, I really liked it too. And I was like, well, my friend her name is Judy. I'm like, try this one. It's really short. Maybe you'll like it because it's on the Booker list. And so a lot of the ideas are taken from Flowers for Algernon, because it's about a father and a son, and the son has Asperger's, and it takes place in a kind of dystopian future where the planet is kind of falling apart nature-wise. I'm talking out of my ass because I don't remember exactly, but the son is not mentally retarded, but he has a severe form of Asperger's syndrome, and he undergoes an operation. But there's a twist on it, so I'm not going to give that away. But that led us both to saying, hey, why don't we both read Flowers for Algernon, which we both did. Now, I'm going to admit that I did not like the novel as much as the short story. The novel focused a lot more on the main character's family and his repressed sexuality. And when I read the story with my students, it was more about the bullying aspect. And to me, that was really interesting because it dealt more with the societal thing. But his family and the way they treated him was interesting, but not as much as, the societal part. And so I'm glad that I finally read it, because I am trying to read all the Hugo award winning books. So I'm glad that I got that one. But I'm going to say that it's definitely worth reading. It's just, it wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Maybe because it's a little dated. I mean, it is from the 1960s, 1966. But anyways, so that, I think that's pretty much it. Let me see if I got anything else. Oh no, there's one more. So this book has so many repercussions. Now, Ted Chiang wrote, so far, I think 2 volumes of short stories, and man, these books are amazing. I wish I could just gift everybody these books. The ideas in these books are astounding. Now, how did I find out about him? I came to him a little bit late, because I saw the movie Arrival. And I was just enamored with Arrival. I thought that was one of the best movies, like everything about it. The way it was filmed, the way it was acted, the story it told, the tricks it played on us, dealing with language, the music. Ooh, I actually have the vinyl for that. Such a great soundtrack. But anyways, that's just one of the stories in here. And then all of the stories, they're not similar. Every one of them deals with different ideas. But anyways, there is a story in here that plays on the idea of flowers for Algernon, and it also goes in a very different way. That's very science fiction. The other collection of his, this is called Stories of Your Life, which is the one that Arrival was based on. But his second set is called Exhalation. Oh, if you haven't read this and you like sci-fi at all, you really got to read this book. It's amazing. And I'm sure I'm going to think of a bunch of things that I left off, but I think I came to the end of what I was going to discuss tonight. I'm also going to a party in a little while, so that's a little bit different from what I'm normally doing. Normally, I'm just, getting ready to go in and watch some TV and relax, but today is going to be different. I was actually thinking of recording this tomorrow morning, but I said, nah, I got to do it on Friday. So I want to thank you again for your support. Probably next week I'll have more, for example, along the lines of a documentary or something, because I'm supposed to be watching more in that series about, what was that series called? That Gus 69 gave me, about the philosopher and then changing the world, and then Zeitgeist. So I will try to watch the next movie in that series and then talk about that as well. I'm also going to be, of course, doing some more YouTube. There was a lot that happened in YouTube this week, but I didn't write anything down. So I'm just going to go ahead and end it there. Now you are going to see me walk off camera. So I'm very sorry about that. I need a better system for doing this. But once again, I want to say thank you. If you watched this far, thank you for your support. And I'll see you soon.